Welcome back to the shop, guys. It's time for another axe haul video. So this crate, all these axe heads plus a couple more, were brought to me by a friend, and we did a trade deal, so I got to get him a couple custom etched axes, right? So I gone through these about a month and a half, 2 months ago when he brought them, and I've dug around a little bit. Some of these were loose heads, some of them were axes on handles that were junk, and I just cut the handles off. But right now, I got to get a little bit of oil on them and start getting ones like this that can get up on the wall. Put that on the wall. And then, not in the video, but today I got to get out the tongue out of a lot of these heads. But in this video, we're just going to take a look at these real quick. So first up, we've got, looks to be 2.5 pound plum Permabond. Well, it's about time for, well, that was it. See, that's how they get you. There's still oil left in there. I'm going to have to pop a hole in that and drain that into a thumb pump oiler. So, Permabond. So, a lot of these Permabonds, they were paper labels, right? So it was just a sticker on the side. But it's easy to tell the Permabond by that red epoxy in the head and then black paint. Okay, so that's likely a plum Permabond, and it looks like it wasn't forged that well. This top line looks a little messy to me. So, all right, moving on, we have what looks to be a little bit, doesn't look to be like an original pattern Michigan, but it is a Michigan that, and again, we've got black paint. So that black paint, I'm assuming that's a plum. I don't see any red in the top, but that was probably a plum Permabond also. Now, this piece, when I saw this, I got excited because it's small and another plum. And I thought this was a cruiser, but then when I measured the eye, I realized it is not a cruiser. So they just filed this thing a lot. That's what they did. Still a good enough shape, probably 2 3/4 pound. So still decent head. All right, coming up, I don't see. So we got another Michigan pattern, double bit Michigan. And I can see ridges in the eye. I have to look close. I would imagine that there's a alphanumerical stamp on here to let us know that it's made from true temper. But I do see a little bit of red paint right there. So that's a pretty good shape. Eye's in great shape. Huh, that's a good little piece. Ooh, I don't come across many of these Marshall Wells. The Zenith. So, again, the eye's in good shape. Bit's quite a bit mushroomed over, but that can be dealt with. So, and you gotta love the nails, right? Again, another Michigan. I see a lot of Michigans out here in the Sierra Nevadas, but definitely a keeper. All right, so this one has been painted. Ah, there we are. So it is a true temper, flint edge, Kelly Works, and I'm not seeing any ridges right there in the eye. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is pre-1960s, before they got the patent to put the ridges in. It's a little worn down. Toes are pretty worn out, but I like that look when those toes are worn out. Looks good to me. So definitely a keeper. This This is not a keeper. This is junk, but I will keep it. So that's a Vaughn. It says Vaughn 4 pounds. And that would have been a really nice wedge banger. You know, you got the straight pole, 4 pounds, heavy enough to be a good little wedge banger. But yeah, somebody used this. Somebody banged it as a wedge is what they did. I'm assuming that they were splitting firewood, and the handle broke, and they just pounded on it with the sledgehammer. Oh, there you go. Oh, SPCO. Okay, there we go. So that is... So Vaughn made this for SPCO. And Tyler Snyder, if you're watching this, what is SPCO? I'm not remembering it off the top of my head. I'm not sure if it was like a utility company or a construction company, or if it was a tool manufacturer, but I don't remember. But I know it's Vaughn on one side and SPCO. So maybe Vaughn bought out SPCO. Well, SPCO would be on the other side. Anyway, one of you guys let me know, what is SPCO? I forget. Oh, I remember this piece. This would have been a gem if it wasn't rusted out like this with all these pits. And that it's still, those pits give it character, okay? It's got character. But this is a shame. I'm going to zoom in on this and you'll see. So if we can barely make out this, there's a 4-leaf clover in there. See that line right there? Another line. So this is a etching. That's an etched piece from DCH Clean Cut. And not only is it a DCH Clean Cut, I assume, but it is also what I believe to be a hardwood flooring or a flooring hatchet. So we can see it's a single bevel. Okay, it's completely flat on this side, so it's an asymmetrical single bevel, and it's kind of like a half of a broad hatchet, right? A carpenter's broad hatchet. This thing's gonna pit and polish up really nice. This is going to be, yeah, that's definitely going to be something to have right there. I mean, it's a shame, but is what it is. All right. This one's interesting. It's a boy's axe, I believe. I believe that's a boy's axe eye. But it is a phantom bevel, Dayton pattern, boy's axe. And it's got really sharp edges. And it says SSS. So I'm assuming that was somebody's initials or a business or somebody's mark that they stamped into that personally. Toe's a little bit worn out. That's going to clean up really nice. Actually, I wouldn't even clean it. I would just oil it, sharpen it, and hang it. So that's a nice little piece. If anybody's got any idea what this is, let me know. I'm assuming it was a paper label, something. So pretty slick. Pretty excited on that one. All right, what do we got here? So I'm assuming this is just somebody ground this thing down real good. All it says is 1/4. No other marks. So just a little hatchet, little no name. You know, stuff like this, you know, likely a Chinese made hatchet. This is the type of stuff that you modify. You know, this is the type of stuff if you're trying to practice, if you're trying to, you know, carve in a beard or, you know, do your etchings or anything. This is a throwaway piece, really, right? I mean, it's definitely usable, and there's no telling it could be good steel, but this is the kind of stuff we do that to. Ooh, this little guy. Now, red paint. Gotta love red paint. At first glance, we would assume that this is a true temper, right? That's what I would assume. It's got some pitting. I don't think that paint's that old. Now, if we look, It's a double oval Craftsman. Or a single oval. Yeah, that's a single oval Craftsman. Pretty sweet little piece. I like it. I'd probably leave that paint even though it's not original. Sharpen it up, hang it. Maybe file down that little mushroom piece right there. That's a nice one. And another kind of a shame. This guy might be pushing 5 pounds. Big, fat, old Dayton. Yeah, this would have been a nice splitter. Whole bunch of pole. Would have made a wedge banger. Probably was a wedge banger. Or again, someone was hitting it with a sledge as a splitting wedge. So, another shame. Alright, what do we have here? Germantown. Now, I don't remember, I haven't read much on Germantown, but I think the Germantowns are a newer hatchet, you know, 70s, 60s, 70s. Don't quote me on that. But what's interesting here, what sets this one aside from a lot of these carpenter's hatchets is the lugs are round. Look at that. Most of the time the lugs are at a triangle, right? So this is a Kent pattern. I would assume that it's still a Kent pattern even though it has the round lugs. That's pretty cool. Pretty thin. That's a lot thinner than a lot of them that I see, I think. So, keeper. Oh, we got another plum. And it's got the rounded lugs. Again, asymmetrical bevel, single bevel. Bit's a little chewed up. That's okay. Pretty sweet piece. You can see here, these are chips because the pole's hardened. And if the pole wasn't hardened, then it would mushroom. So that's a good indication. That's a good way to tell if your pole is hardened or not. Looks like a worn out Collins boy's axe. Make a nice little kindling splitter on a house axe handle. It's got a nice thick high center line profile. Make a good chopper. I think this one snuck into this box. I don't think this came. I got a feeling I got that one at a yard sale. Alright, there's the double oval Craftsman. There she is. So this thing's a monster. It's got to be 4.5 pounds. Might be heavier. Another really nice high center line. Thick. It thins out though. So this is nice and thin up here, so that'll bite deep. But once it gets in, it starts getting thick. This seems like it'd be a good multi-purpose full-size single bit right here. Smash pole, not terrible. Couple 10 minutes on the grinder and it'll clean up. And yeah, pretty nice piece. Now, this old carpenter's hatchet. Okay, what do we got? All right, we got to zoom in here. What does that say? HOC Toolworks. HOC Toolworks, Evansville, Indiana, USA. I'm assuming that's old. Hard to say. Alright. This one's got some green paint on it. It's definitely, someone was file happy, right? Someone was shaving, sharpening that thing down. No marks. No marks. I cut the handle off of this and the whole thing was the handle was OD green. So I don't know. It doesn't say. I don't think this is a, what is it, the M19, whatever the military hatchet was. This isn't one of those. But decent little piece. And crack. Straight pole. So this was a Dayton. At first glance, it looks like, because of the rounded toe and heel, looks like it was a Michigan. But these straight lines and this straight pole, and that heavy, look, that would have been a good wedge banger. Probably was a wedge banger. Huh. But cracked. What is this? Okay, this is interesting. It's got black and red paint on it, and I'm assuming that both of those are not from the factory. But look how thick that bit is. That thing's a monster, but it's short. So this was a boy's axe. Hard to say exactly what it was. I'm not seeing any marks on it, but I don't think it was a Dayton. And that curve right there, maybe this was a European. I'm not 100% sure what this was, but it's worn out. It's a keeper. Oh, this one right here. So this is probably the most exciting piece that I got out of this haul. And I haven't dated these stamps yet. Now, if we look at it, the pole's all chipped up, right? Pole's all chipped up. The bit's pretty worn out. It should be a straight line there most of the time. But what's interesting here is that it is not... What's interesting here is that it's not asymmetrical. It's a symmetrical bevel. Now, for the good part. See that crown? Legitimus. Collins & Co. Hartford, Connecticut. Cast steel. But what's up here? Is that JS? So I got to look that up. I know some of these Collins, a lot of people, I believe England was notorious for it, and other European countries. They were counterfeiting Collins, and that's where Legitimus came from. Collins, they made Legitimus. I'm not sure if they trademarked it, and that stopped a lot of the counterfeiting. But I got a feeling this thing's pretty old. I got to look it up. I don't know. Maybe it's new. All right, we've got another Kent pattern. This one's a Baker. All right. I think Baker went out of business in the early 1900s. I want to say, for some reason, they were out of business by the 20s. I could be totally wrong. But good shape. It's in really good condition. It's got chips on the pole, so that tells us that it is a hardened pole. Yeah, decent shape. Whammy. Look at that crack. So what's interesting here is that it doesn't have a lot of pole damage. So, this right here, I believe that to be what's the term? A Rockwell hardening test. A Rockwell test. I believe they stamped that in there. I'm not completely sure. But I would assume, right, so they stamped that there, and this was obviously too hard to steel, and it cracked. That'd be a curious one to test. I've got one of those hardness testing file sets. Maybe I'll test that out. Oh, that's too bad. Got a True Temper. I don't have any True Temper. I don't think I have any True Temper Kent patterns. I like True Temper. Whammy. That might still... It does. It looks. I don't know. I'll have to look on the inside. I don't see that it. Looks like they almost welded in there. I'll have to check that out. That might be able to be turned into a user. I don't know. I might risk it. Sweet. A lot of Kent patterns. Another Kent. This one's a no-name. Might find something. There's some grime on that. That is some thick grime. Man. Talk about a pit and polish. Yeah. Look at that bunch of junk in there. Yeah, another Kent pattern. Another Kent pattern. This one's a little more narrow up here. Alright. That one's a little more narrow. This is a Dunlop. Good shape. A lot of life left. That's in good condition. Got the Stanley Handyman. Carpenter's hatchet. Well, this one's made in America. Now here's the interesting. And tell me, put in the comments what is wrong with this axe. Take a look at this and tell me what is wrong with this axe. So what is wrong here? Can you see it? Yeah. Huh. This one almost looks like it's got the same issue. Have to pull the calipers out and check it. This one for sure has the same issue. Yeah. I've probably got 6 or 7 of these, not this specific head, but heads that when they put the drift in for the eye, they put it in backwards, right? What is this? This is black. I don't know. Might be another paper label. Permabond. It's hard to say. This one's pretty slick. It's got something. Right? Man, there's something there. Almost think it says Winchester. I had one just like this in excellent shape. I mean, I'm talking perfect condition. Winchester had the claws on the back. Couldn't find any pictures of one of these carpenter's hatchets that had the claws. You could find them with the round lugs and a hammer pole, but none with the claws. So that told me it was pretty rare. Excellent condition. Wound up selling it on eBay. Kick myself in the ass still today. All right, I'm seeing some letters right in here. Doesn't matter. It's too beat up anyway to tell. But it's in good shape. That's a user. Probably have to grind off the broken claws. Vaughn Super Steel. It's kind of a unique design right there with those lugs ground down. We got another Stanley. It's a 122, but it's not a handyman. It's interesting marks. Huh. So I'm not seeing maker's marks, but what I am seeing is this. I'm assuming that that was a carpenter's mark. So he marked his tools. I bet there's whole bunch of tools out there with that, that looks like a die, right? Probably a gambler shooting craps on a riverboat. Yeah, sweet. I always like it when I get someone's old axe that has marks on it. Oh, shit. I did not remember. That's what is at the bottom. I don't remember this one. This one's nice. All right. So now I don't know. So I'm up in the air between the that DCH clean cut and what was the other one I really liked in there? It was a DCH clean cut. Oh, the DCH clean cut in this Collins Legitimus Kent pattern. But then you got this guy. So we have, I almost want to call this a peeler or a redwood pattern. I don't believe that to be a swamper. When we see these rounded edges, that tells me it's a peeler. Look at this, the stamps. Yeah, I like the True Temper's my favorite, right? And I love the handmade. I love the handmades. This is nice. Yes, this one's going on the wall. That one I'm stoked. All right, I got a couple more pieces to show you that I got out of this batch. 1 second. So there was more. I know there's more. I just don't quite remember which ones they were from this batch. And I've got some other stuff that I've picked up this summer. It's been a slow summer for getting heads. Been working too much. But this, I'm about to pick up some more heads. So here we have and don't let anybody tell you any different. This did not evolve from the Hudson Bay pattern, okay? This is a Rhineland pattern, okay? This came from Germany. Maybe this one may have been, made in China. I don't know where this one was made, but this pattern came from Germany, from the Rhineland Valley. We can see we do have, almost looks like a blue. I'm gonna have to look in. I know the Germans started picking up, and the Swedes, some Europeans started picking up epoxy after Plum came out with the Permabond. So it's epoxied in there. DY, I've seen that before. So drop a comment if you guys know what the DY is. And I think it said 600, yeah. So it says 600 right here. So 600 grams. Excellent condition little head. I love these Rhinelands. Needs a new handle. Puppy dog got a hold of the handle and chewed on it. So, but yeah, decent little hatchet. Nothing special. Nothing special. Now this here, this is special. And the reason why this is special is because I'm assuming that now all of this came from the same lot. And I'm assuming that whoever had this had bought this years ago. You can't find these surplus handles anymore, okay? And I'm drawing a blank, but I think it was the M19 hatchet. So around the First World War, this was designed, okay? This hatchet was designed, the handle and the head. This is what the military had settled on. They kept this hatchet for years, all the way into World War II, and I'm not quite sure, possibly into Vietnam, but this was the hatchet, whether it was Marine Corps, Army, whatever it was, this was the hatchet. Now, some of the hatchets were made by Plum. Some of the hatchets were made by True Temper, and I would assume Collins jumped in there, and I wouldn't be surprised if, Winchester and Singer, how all that World War II, or all the especially World War II stuff went, where they would pull in different manufacturers to manufacture things that they didn't normally build. What makes this one cool is interesting to me. So, American Fork and Hoe Co. 1945. Okay. Look at that. So this, I'm assuming there's a bunch of 1945 hatchets out there, so I don't think that that's rare about it, but it is cool that it is a World War II era axe. Possibly was even in Europe, in Germany, in the war. Hard to say. So it has the original handle. I'm not sure if it was original to this head, because this head has green paint. And the handle's not painted. That doesn't mean that somebody didn't, sand that down. So anyway, chipped, busted, loose. The eye's in great shape. It's got just a little mushrooming that I don't even think I'll clean that mushrooming up. I think, and I don't think it's going to get painted. And then it's got a replacement handle. A military surplus, I'm assuming, is where they got this replacement handle. Kerf is cut. Kerf's a little off. I'm fine with that. What's interesting about these is, look, there's no palm swell. So if you guys are throwers, this would actually make a really good throwing handle. So that's slick. Now here we go. All right, question for you guys. So, and I think I'm going to do this piece on a video because it deserves it. The only thing that's slowing me down and stopping me is I can't quite make up my mind. I don't want to paint it. I want to leave the patina. I want to leave the original little specks of green paint that are on there. But the handle's painted green, and it's in pretty good shape. So my issue is I don't have a problem putting a green handle on a non-painted head, but what I'm concerned about is when I fit the head onto this tongue, I'm going to have to sand down into here. And I feel like it's just going to look a little bit odd going from a nicely patinaed head to fresh wood back to the green handle. So drop a comment, tell me what you think. What are your guys' suggestions on how to tackle this specific piece right here? One of the things that I keep going back to thinking is just staining where I shave down for when I'm fitting the head. Just staining that taper with a dark, something dark, so that it's not super bright, it doesn't stand out, and it can kind of transition from patina to like a walnut stain into that green. So drop a comment, tell me what you guys think. All right, that's it. I'm going to wrap this up. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll catch you on the next one.